This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. Okay guys, this Tuesday night, March the 7th, it's already March, isn't it?
Scary.
And I tell you, I don't know how the show's going to be tonight. I've got Glen Popiel with me as a co-host tonight, and usually when Glen's with me, the show goes off the rails. Now I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to see what's going to happen. And also tonight is, if your call letter's in with GP, you're on the show. We've got a special guest on tonight. George Pease KC0GP is going to be with us. Talk about elmering. And we've got this guy right here, KW5GP. So two GPs. But first, let me say welcome to all of our shortwave listeners out there listening on 5130 on WBCQ, a real famous international shortwave station out of Monticello, Maine. And we welcome you. Thank you. I'm glad we have you here.
Yeah, I'm going to keep him on the rails until I want it to go off the rails, and then
I took the pre-show announcement off. But thanks to everybody out there listening on WBCQ. Hey, send us a signal report if you're listening tonight. Send it to Tom at W5KUB.com. Tom at W5KUB.com. We also like to welcome you to join our show on video tonight. If you have a computer or an internet nearby, just go to W5KUB.com. and you can join in on the show tonight. You can watch the video and see the presentations, and you'll hear it without some of the static. And but we really welcome shortwave listeners. We're wanting to make this show inclusive also of shortwave. You know, all of us, or many of us, started out as shortwave listeners back in our early days, and we welcome you here, and we would love to have input from you. This is for everybody. Go up to the top of our webpage there, to the menu, and where it says Facebook, click on Facebook and join our Facebook group. It's a great ham radio group. You can see what's coming up on the show. You can see all types of announcements, and it's just a good ham radio place just to talk about ham radio and put pictures in there. Let me think here. I think it's time. Let's move on. Oh, Katie Allen. I talked to Katie earlier. She was not able to make it tonight. She's got some things that she's needing to do tonight, so she's skipped out of the show tonight. But if she has time, she might come in the chat room. I don't know.
As I say, Tom, don't tell them that she's not going to be here. Half the chat room is going to go away.
Well, I know, and that's one of the reasons I have Katie on here.
Let them know that she may be coming. That way, they'll stick around.
They don't come to see me.
They don't come to see you. They don't come to see me.
And I think my programming director that brought you in to replace Katie tonight. I'm starting to think about that position
pretty
too.
Bad decision, yeah.
Yeah. And let program director, plug your.
Yeah, we're hearing ourselves delayed 30 seconds. The time machine is turned on.
Okay. Well, boy, now that's two strikes for our program director tonight. We're going to have to.
You have three, and you sleep outside.
That's right. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? Okay, I told you guys it's going to be a fun show tonight. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, we don't.
Oh man. Okay.
I've had coffee, okay? This is going to be bad.
And my program director told me not to say this, but I'm going to tell everybody out there, if I should happen to scream during the show.
I didn't do it.
I developed, in the last 2 days, what do you call it, Kathy? Sciatic nerve problems down my back and leg. I had more pain than I've ever had in my entire life, and it comes and goes right now. So it's terrible. I've got an appointment tomorrow. Hopefully they can cut the leg off or do something, because I can't take it. I did take some medicine a while ago to try to cover it up.
Now here's the scary part. He's got me lined up as his backup.
All right.
Let's hope that nothing happens to him.
Let's jump into the show. Tonight we're going to be talking about elmering in our first segment. And tonight I've got George Pease III KC0GP with us. And let me see if I can bring George in here. Get the right mouse here.
We only have four in front of us. We need
only
3 or 4 more.
Okay, there we go. We got George in here tonight. Hey, George, how you doing?
I am doing well. How are you gentlemen this evening?
Well, we're doing pretty good, and the show has already started off the rails, and we're going to try to keep it as civilized as we can here with you. But we want to welcome you to the show tonight, and I ran across you because you have a website called, what's your website called?
Well, it's actually a Facebook page.
That's what
Ham Radio Elmers.
That's right. The Facebook group is called Ham Radio Elmers, and I post our show in there some, and I've been asking for a long time if anyone in that Facebook group wanted to come on and talk about elmering, and George was nice enough to come in and says yes, he would do it. So George, let's talk about elmering tonight, being an elmer, and how long you been an elmer. And well, first of all, how did you get interested in being an elmer?
Well, it kind of came hand in hand with being a volunteer examiner. And after I got my extra license back in the early 80s, whenever it was first being done by volunteer examiners, I got into to examining with a group that used to do testing out of Chillicothe, Missouri. And a lot of the guys, after they got their licenses, it's like they'd stand there and like, well, what do I do now? And so I'd give them my telephone number, my name, and say, hey, if you guys have questions, have problems, give me a call, and we'll see if we can't help you out. So I have several people over the years that I've helped along the way, and it just kind of grew from there.
Well, that's great. Now, how about your website? Does it bring in a lot of interest to people that are looking for elmers? And how do you elmer somebody that's a long distance away from you?
Well, the main thing for the Facebook page is it's kind of a safe haven for new people coming in. Right at the very beginning of my Facebook page, it talks about I have a zero tolerance of people that want to ridicule and belittle new people that have sometimes some of the most basic questions. And what inspired this was I would go through different Facebook pages and social media pages where people would ask a question, and yes, they would get some decent answers, but they would get a whole string of real belittling, deriding answers of people that don't have anything better to do than put down others. And I decided, hey, I'm going to make a Facebook page where people could come in and join and ask these questions and get decent answers. And if somebody gives them trouble, gives them guffaw, they're gone. And fortunately, out of the 1,075 members that my Facebook page currently has, I've only had to boot about 3 or 4. And so I think it's got a pretty good record. It's not highly active. We get probably 15, 20 posts a day, something like that on the average. But when a person asks a question, they get a good answer. And that's the main thing I wanted to have, was to have the ability for a person to come on there and get decent answers without having to worry about all of the trash that takes place on a lot of other social media sites.
Well, I'm seeing some good comments on the chat room already, George. I mean, I understand you'll give the shirt off your back to anybody. At least that's in print here in the chat room.
This one's going to stay here, though. I bought this shirt. It's special. But
all right. Well, you were talking.
I have other shirts that they're welcome to. Yes. You
were talking about you don't zero tolerance. You don't let people belittle other hams. There's a lot of hams out there that are just getting their license. They know practically nothing. I mean, in today's world, a lot of these tests, these volunteer tests, they run a person through, maybe a 6 or 8 hour class or 2 days and get them a license. And then the next thing I see them posting is, okay, I got my license. What kind of radio do I need? So, I mean, I guess some people would have issue with that, like, what kind of radio do you need? Well, what do you want to do? But, you can say it nicely. So I think it's cool that you're taking care of these people like that and trying to welcome them into the hobby. So
yeah, I tell you what, I've always felt that mentoring in any hobby is an important part of the hobby, and I think it's even more important in ham radio, because from the very early days of ham radio, elmering was a foundation part, a cornerstone part of the hobby. New people learned about ham radio, became ham radio operators through the inspiration of somebody that already was one. And I think having that shoulder to lean on a little bit, that helping hand, is important. And I think for our hobby to continue to grow and to maintain status quo, we need to have good, strong elmers out there helping new people. We've got a guy down in Kansas City that's really excellent. His name is Herb Fiddick. I can't remember his call sign off the top of my head, but he has a regular program for the next stage. After you take your license or your test and you get your license, where do I go now? And it's a very useful course, and people can take that course and learn it. You go to the class to learn, to study, to get your license. You go to Herb's class or go to a good elmer to learn how to be a good ham radio operator. And you hear a lot of comments about, well, they dropped the code, so now we have all these terrible operators out there, and blah, 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 blah. It's because they're not finding the kind of help they need and the guidance that they need to learn to become a good ham radio operator. I remember my elmer, one of the very first things that I was ever taught by him was, before you ever get on the air the first time, listen. Listen for a day or two. Don't just get your license and jump on the air and fumble, bumble, and stumble. Get your radio set up, do some listening, listen to the technique of good operators, and learn from that. And I thought that was a valuable lesson.
Well, George, I was thinking back to when I got my license back in 1964. I was 16 years old, and in a little town about 900 people. And there were no other. Well, there was a tech ham there. There was a technician there in town that I knew, but I didn't know much about him. But anyway, I started, as we talked earlier, I started off as a shortwave listener, and what thrilled me was on that old Zenith radio, I would tune in hams that were going up and down the Mississippi in some of these riverboats. There were actually hams on some of those. And I would listen to them, and I really got excited about that. So I found his tech, and I went to him, and he said, well, I can't do much for you. I've got a tech license. Back then, a general or above could give you a novice test. So I went up to a little town about 13 miles from there, and ended up getting my novice license. So I don't think I really had an elmer for ham radio, although I will say I grew up with an uncle that had a TV and radio repair shop, and he was in electronics in World War II. And I grew up, at 4 and 5 years old. I was taking parts out of his trash can, and I was learning electronics back then. And I have to think he was probably my elmer, even though he was not elmering me for ham radio, but he sure elmered me in radio theory and electronics, and I think that's what got my interest. What kind of background did you have there in getting your license?
Well, mine was through actually a club in a brand new high school. I grew up in Terre Haute, Indiana, and they took several of the older high schools and shut them down and made 2 large high schools, Terre Haute North and Terre Haute South. Wait,
hey George, let me interrupt you. You said you grew up in Terre Haute. I'm not insinuating anything, but isn't that the home of a federal prison up there?
Yeah, there is one there. Sure enough.
That's what I thought.
That's where Timothy McVeigh, I think, ended up after he blew up Oklahoma City.
All right, but you didn't come from that area. You were a decent guy.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But anyway, growing up there, when they started the high school, my first elmer was a school teacher there at the school. He started a club for the students, And if you see that, if you go to my Ham Radio Elmer page, you'll see a picture, an old black and white picture there of 3 young students. I'm one of them. I was actually the first student to get my license through the club, and my younger sister the following year was the first female student to get her license through the club. And so we started out with that. My first Elmer, WB9NIW, his name was Ben, was a fantastic teacher, and he really took time and taught us the right way to become ham radio operators. That's for sure. And I still think very fondly of him.
Yeah, I think it was the same way with me. I got lucky in my high school. It was a brand new high school, and 2 of my friends were hams, actually 3 of them, and they got me into it at age 14. And so, I had them as Elmers, and it was real nice growing up with peers. And the biggest thing that I learned way back then, and this is something that really needs to get out there for the new folks, there is no dumb question. Really, the dumbest question is the one you don't ask. Yes, there are people that will belittle you, and I applaud you for not allowing that on your Facebook page. But really, for the new folks, ask the questions. You're the one who needs the answers, and we have them for you. Anyway.
That's correct. That's very, very true. And so I encourage anybody that is a little bit lost or a little bit timid and needing some help to come join. And I've seen in the lower right-hand corner of my screen here, it's been popping up notifications from my Facebook page of people joining my Ham Radio Elmer site tonight. So
excellent.
A few people are watching and going to the site and signing up. That's great. I welcome all of them, and we'll do our best. We just try to answer questions and be a resource for people that and give good, honest opinions. And if you come on there and you ask a question like, what kind of radio should I buy? Well, I'm not going to sit there and tell you should buy this radio or that radio specifically. I'm going to give you a few features of some of the few radios that I know about and let you make your choice from there, because I don't want to tell you, you need to go buy a Yaesu, or you need to go buy a Kenwood, or you need to go buy an ICOM or a Baofeng or whatever, and then have you go buy that radio and not be satisfied with it. But I'm going to point out some of the features of these different radios that I've used and that I like and that I've heard other people say about these radios, and then give you some information to make an informed choice.
Well, and there's so much digital and other modes. That person that just get their license, they may be more interested in a digital mode or D-Star, one of the other modes that in my case, I traditionally don't use, or they may want to do the sideband, or, you just need to learn what their interest is really first before you can even answer the radio question.
Oh, that's for sure. And I get questions on the site even now. I have no clue how to answer it, so I rely upon the other Elmers that have joined my site. I'd say my site is right now about 35 to 40% of the members of it are experienced Elmers and are people that can come up with the answers. I haven't yet to see. Well, there may have been 1 or 2 questions that slipped by that didn't get an answer, but I think almost everybody that's asked a question has gotten multiple responses and good responses to their questions to help them along the way.
Well, that's great. Now, in addition to helping them out and answering your questions, I think you're a volunteer examiner, right?
Yes, I've been a volunteer examiner since. We were the group that I was involved in that tested in Chillicothe, Missouri for years. Before several of the guys retired from it, and a couple of them are no longer with us, or silent keys. But our group was, I believe, the first W5YI group in the northwest Missouri area.
All right. How large of a VE operation is that? You guys do a large number of licenses per year?
Our group doesn't, but there are several groups here in the area now that does. We've got one group down in Kearney, Missouri, which is not too far from here, that I believe tests every single month, or maybe even twice a month. And so we've got some very good active VEs here. We have some very good active educational groups that teach classes. I think you can just about find beginning class in the Kansas City metro area in northwest Missouri just about any time you want to take one. I personally teach 3 to 4 a year. I've done 2 or 3 here in recent times for different emergency management type groups. So we've got community involvement that way. And I see ham radio operators coming in for all kinds of different reasons, and it's great to see. We've grown the community up here, and I think it's continuing to grow. We have people from scouting, we have people from preppers that get their license. We've just got a wide variety of walks of life, and it's been a lot of fun to work with. I have been involved in emergency management for the last few years too, but I've kind of stepped back away from that at this point because my business is become a little more demanding than I have time for the emergency management. So, but I still enjoy the elmering aspect of it, and try to check in with the website on a regular basis and answer questions whenever I can. It's interesting too. Another little thing I thought I'd point out about elmering: the term elmer in ham radio was first used in 1971 in the March issue of QST magazine, an article that was written there by Rod Newkirk, and he used that term, and it kind of caught on, and it's in fact it's so important to the ARRL. They even offer an Elmer recognition award that can be you can nominate your Elmer that can receive an award from the ARRL for an Elmer award, and that's a pretty cool recognition for people that are doing something that I feel is really important.
Yeah, that's cool. They've got a certificate that they can issue. So, elmering, I think you mentioned it's a long-term commitment to individuals, because these individuals, their ham career is going to go 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and they're going to go from license to license. Maybe they all want to upgrade in their very first years, but they're going to need an elmer for a long time. And another thing, even the reverse, I have found that the way technology has changed so much, I mean, an old guy like me has trouble keeping up with some of this. Now, Glen here, he's only 29 years old, and he can do all this digital stuff and all that Arduino stuff. And
it's 29 plus shipping.
And I can't even figure out what files to get in the Arduino directory to do it, and he keeps it a secret. But I think in his next book, he might.
No.
Okay.
The magician never tells all of
his
secrets.
He never tells secrets. So what I was going to say is that a lot of the young people that are getting into ham radio now, they've got a lot of skills that they can teach us too.
Yes, they do.
And they can become our Elmer.
And we have guys that are into 3D printing and into the Arduino, the Raspberry Pi. Some of these technologies that are coming up are great. A lot of these new digital modes are a lot of fun, and you know what? Even some of the old timers like myself, I'll get on there and play with the digital mode every once in a while, and I gotta find somebody that knows how to get that computer hooked up to that radio and make it work right sometimes. So
oh yeah,
it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
We really it's an information sharing highway, but the main thing about it is it needs to be done in such a way that it encourages an upbuild and doesn't tear down.
Absolutely, I agree. That was you're talking about the makers, tending to, back in the old days, hams were the makers. We built all of our stuff, and with all of the new technologies, with the cell phones and all of that, your makers are really kind of a cross between ham radio and general electronics and tinkering and playing. And let me tell you something, those guys are just unreal in some of their creativity. And, hang around some of them and you get a lot of good ideas from those folks.
See, back when
Look at some of the things they're doing now with the technology of using I don't remember whether it's an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi they're doing it with, but you can have an app on your telephone, and it'll know your location. It'll bring up all the repeaters in the area. You can pick the repeater that you want to go to, and you hit a button on the app, and it changes the radio. and it sets the radio and the transmit, receive, offset, the tone if there is one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's so easy to use.
And we had that was our show last week.
I was going to say, wasn't that our Finder?
Our Finder last week, yeah.
Yeah, we just did that last week. Where were you? Why weren't you watching?
He was preparing for tonight.
He was preparing for this one.
You know, back, you know, you said, what do you think of makers? We weren't called makers back then. I used to be a
hackers.
I think hacker, that's the term ARRL came out with a few years ago.
No.
But I always thought of it as a home brewing. But you know what? Nowadays, you talk about home brewing, they think you're making beer.
Making beer, yeah.
So,
no, when I was coming up in the 70s and 80s, we were hackers, and then that term became bad. So they transitioned it over to makers, home brewers, and whatever other term you want to come up with. But I still call myself a hacker because I'm from that 70s and 80s era.
Now, George, there's a person in the room here called Hank. He says he's ready for some barbecue. Do you know a Hank?
A Hank?
He said he's ready for barbecue. Now, I'm only guessing he's saying that because you're up near St. Louis. I mean, you're, where are you, Kansas City area?
Near the Kansas City area.
They got barbecue, but it ain't Memphis barbecue.
Well, that's right. And I told George a story about how Memphis beats Kansas out on their barbecue.
It all depends on where you're from.
Well, we got it at the highest level from the astronaut.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we got trumped on that deal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, we won't get into detail, but I told George the story the other night, and
I moved to Memphis about 20 years ago, and I had no clue what dry rub barbecue was. And then somebody took me to the rendezvous, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're good.
Well, you know, the barbecue has such a regional flair about it, no matter what part of the country you go into. You go to the Carolinas, they have that wonderful mustard-style barbecue sauce that they make over there. You go down to Georgia and North Florida, you order a pulled pork sandwich, and it comes with the coleslaw on the sandwich. That's kind of unique to that area. So, yeah, I've experienced barbecue just about everywhere there is to experience barbecue.
It's,
to tell you the truth, it's all pretty good.
It's different everywhere depending on where you are. And short story, since we're off the rails tonight. Short story. When I was in the Air Force, I called this Dairy Queen up in Altus, Oklahoma, and ordered a hot dog with mustard only. Okay? Hot dog with mustard only. That should be a pretty simple order, right? I drive through, I pick it up, I go all the way home, take it out of the bag, and guess what I had?
A hamburger.
I had a hot dog bun with mustard only in it. No hot dog. I mean, if they were going to be technical, they would have put a hot dog in there with mustard on it. But I got a hot dog bun and mustard. Boy, I'll tell you what. So different regions.
They were protecting you from yourself.
Different regions, you just got to know that there's differences. You know.
Yeah.
If I wanted a hot dog.
Anyway, let's get back on.
Yeah, let's get back to Elmer here.
My job to keep him on track.
Yeah.
Not a good move.
Let's get back on track.
Well, I'm so glad to have found you and your Facebook group out there, and I know there are a couple other Elmer groups out there, and well, we can't do without Elmers. We need Elmers in this hobby,
we need
or it will die. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling. If we don't bring along the young people and the new ones and get them involved and active in our hobby, it's going to choke out. But you know, we got big competition from other hobbies these days. Everybody's got a lot of things going on, and we need to find the right people and get them enthused in the hobby and help them along. That's the biggest thing, is so that they don't become discouraged and quit. Let me read you one thing that was written in Wikipedia about the term Elmer. And it says, too frequently one hears a sad story in this little nutshell. Oh, I almost got a ticket too, but Elmer W9XYZ moved away and I kind of lost interest. Yeah. And Newkirk went on to say, we need those Elmers, all the Elmers, including the ham who took the most time and trouble to give you a push toward your license, are the birds who keep this great game young and fresh. And I thought that's worded pretty well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, George, it's been great talking to you tonight and talking about Elmering, and there's a lot of interest in the chat room here. I know a lot of people hopefully are going over and joining your chat room, and hopefully they'll join ours too, because we like to also help promote ham radio, and we have a lot of we've got about 5,000 people in our group, and I think a lot of people very capable of helping people and answer questions. So again, just thank you for what you're doing for ham radio, and I think we're going to probably go ahead and wrap this segment up. Is there an email or anything you want to give people? We've already given out your Facebook group, and people are starting to go there.
Well, let's give the Facebook group out again one more time over the air. It's in the chat room, but over the air. Isn't it
Ham Radio.
Ham Radio Elmers on Facebook?
Yep, Ham Radio Elmers on Facebook.
There's another one in the chat
for... joined tonight. Yeah, that's good. And if anybody wants to reach me direct, they can fire me off an email. It's at mycall@yahoo.com. It's pretty easy. So KC0GP at yahoo.com. And I'll answer all I can. I don't know the answer to every question. I don't claim to. But a lot of times I can direct you to a person who can, or where to get the information if I don't know it. So,
well, I agree.
So we'll try.
Well, hey, again, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you, and it's a great subject.
Well, I really appreciate you inviting me to be on, and I've enjoyed this opportunity this afternoon. Maybe we'll get a chance to chat again sometime.
Sure, and the show is recorded, so people can watch this segment and this show anytime from tonight on. It's always out there. In case somebody missed it and they want to see it, just tell them in your Facebook group, go to W5KB.com archives, and they can catch the show.
Very good. Thank you very much.
73, thanks a lot.
See you, George.
Bye-bye.
See you.
All right, that was George Pease III KC0GP near Kansas City, and that was we're talking about elmering. All right, so we did pretty good to keep it on track there.
What he's got to say is very important. I mean, without elmers, you can't go anywhere. You really need elmers.
Yeah.
So I agree.
So let's jump into because with you here, this show could go 3 or 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, y'all just go get some coffee, because we're going to be here till about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
So what we normally do is I do the new hams and the shack pictures toward the end, but that would never get to them. So we're going to do the shack pictures now. We're going to do the shack pictures and new hams in just a second. But first of all, let's do this. Spring forward. Time to put away those winter boots and spring forward with ICOM. Base stations, multiple transceivers, handhelds, and more. ICOM has all the equipment to help make your spring full of adventure. Get out and get mobile with ICOM. Communicate with the touch of your fingertips. Perfect for small spaces, the IC7100 base station is the ideal D-Star option to help those communicate anywhere. It has angled control head and touchscreen for quick, intuitive operation. A large internal speaker for clear digital audio. It's perfect for multiband and all-mode communications. Do you have spring travel plans this year? Back for a limited time, the IC7200 is a great option for hams wanting a device to carry out into the field. Simple and tough with IF-DSP, digital noise reduction, and a USB port for PC control. Ideal for the ham on the go, try this IC7300. It's a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with compact design, RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. Okay.
I guess you need to bring us back now.
Yeah, I did. I hit the wrong button there. Yeah. Okay. So, hey, we had a couple new hams just got their license or upgraded here in the past week or two. Let me mention them here. Let's see, we've got Jason Bentley. He just passed his general at the Birmingham Ham Fest. When was Birmingham? Like a week or two ago?
Like last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend. He's now already working on his extra class. And
don't you have a picture?
No, I don't. And,
okay.
and Jason is KE4 FRI. He just passed his general. Now I've got a picture. I'm almost there.
He's got a picture, but he's got about 100 to choose from.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh man, we're gonna get this thing better organized. Here we go. This is John McCauley and his wife, Raylene. Now, John just passed his extra class last week. He's KE0LZZ. He's out of Inglewood, Colorado. And I think his wife was studying for her tech, and he wanted to give her some encouragement. So about the same time, he studied for his his extra, and they both came out with licenses. So Raylene passed her tech test, and she just got her call, I think, today. I updated this picture today. Raylene is KE0MJL, if I've got that correct. All right, let's jump into some shack pictures here real quick. So our
That's
first
not
picture,
my shack.
our
It's
first
too neat.
picture, yeah, it is too neat for yours. You know what? I've got these in all mixed up order, so I'm just going to go with the flow. This is George Davenport, KM4ODS in Rayford, North Carolina. And there in his neat little desk here, he's got a TS590. He uses a 40 meter delta loop. He's got an 80 meter horizontal delta loop. He's got him a signal link there, a Kenwood TM V7 for 2 meters and 440. And got a Diamond SWR power meter and a Astron 35M and a Kenwood power supply there. So that's George Davenport down in North Carolina. Here's John Erickson, KB0VVK. How you say that? Muscatine,
Iowa.
Muscatine, Iowa. Let's see. Let me find John. Now I have no idea. What kind of radio is that? Is that an Icom?
It looks like an Icom 756. No, that may be a 991. No, it's an Icom.
I don't know. I don't have it.
You don't have his rig?
He didn't provide me any information. I'm not that familiar with it. I'm sure someone in the
maybe a 756 Pro.
I was going to guess 7300, but maybe not.
Maybe a 7300.
I have no idea. But that's John up in Muscatine, Iowa.
It's got a nice color display. That's all I know.
Yeah. And here's Dale, K8TS. Now Dale, you know what? He was a prize winner on our show a couple weeks ago. He won a digital multimeter a couple weeks ago.
He also won last week and gave the prize back.
Did he? Oh, he did. He's won twice in a row.
Yeah.
He gave it back. Yeah. But this is Dale Cole, K8TS. He's got him a TS570 DG there and a Kenwood KW-MC80 microphone. He's out of Jackson, Michigan. And next we've got Daryl Little, KI4 LLA, Roanoke, Virginia. And he's got a 10-Tech Scout, a buddy pole vertical there he uses on 10, 15, and 20. He runs digital PSK31. And he's got an ICOM 706 Mark
that's
III.
a 706.
There was Signal Link. All right, and this would be Jeff Friedman. And it's easy to see. He's got his call on his screen there. This is Jeff.
Makes it easy for you.
K7JF in Gig Harbor, Washington. And Jeff has an IC 7410 HF transceiver there with, I think, matching speaker. And he's got a Green Heron Engineering rotor controller and an ICOM IC 2400A.
Yeah, these shacks are a lot prettier and a lot nicer than you'll ever see mine.
All right, here we go. Max Donahue VE3 TMT. I think he sent a picture a week or two ago. Max is up in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And here you'll see an Astron power supply, an ICOM 756 Pro 3. Everybody's got something from MFJ. There's an MFJ 948 tuner, and a Yaesu G450 XL rotor controller, a Yaesu FL2100B amplifier. And I think outside he's got a McCushcraft AE3S, an Alpha Delta DXB sloper, and he's got a homemade 6-meter Moxon. I think I got a picture of that. There's his antennas out there. There's that 6-meter homebrew Moxon out there. Is that how you say that? Moxon? Moxon? I don't know, man.
Don't ask me.
I'm not sure that was a word when I went to school.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't think
Probably
so.
a word you shouldn't use in public.
That's right. That's right.
Do not try to drink when I'm capable of talking, because it will come out your nose.
Okay, so I think that's all of our shack pictures and everything. Oh, let's see, we got one more shack picture here.
Yeah. I like the LEDs you put on that Yaesu rotor controller. Mine are still white. I like those blue LEDs.
Did he put LEDs on it?
Yeah, go back to his other picture.
Yeah.
He's got the blue LED
okay.
mod in there. That's really pretty.
That's cool. Okay, so let's see. Here's a shack here. Boy, I tell you, I don't know about this shack here, but let's look at it. I don't know. Tell me about this shack right here. That's you, Glenn.
That's
you.
my shack. Yeah, zoom in a little bit there.
That's you. Okay, let me see. You can zoom in a little.
If you can. There you go.
How's that?
You can back out if a little bit. If you can go halfway. But,
all right.
We're going to transition on into the book segment at this point.
How far you been back out?
That's fine. That's
right
good.
There.
We wanted to talk about my book this evening, and part of let's just go with that.
Let me get back.
But we wanted to talk about the book segment tonight, and part of what I wanted to do was how does a book get put together? And fortunately, I have 2 editorial assistants that you got to see there. Let's go back to those 2 demons. These are, last week you had Rich Moseson on and his cat jumped in his lap. Well, these 2, that's about as close to my lap as it can handle. You are looking at a pair of Maine Coon kittens, and I do mean kittens. They are still growing. And these are my editorial assistants. And if you notice, the biggest problem I have with putting a book together is the delay caused by my editorial assistants having to sleep on things. You know, you've always said, let me sleep on this. Well, there's your book underneath there. But a book like this takes about a year to put together. And let's go to the next one, and you can see there's a lot of research that goes into a book. These things don't just happen. And as you can see, the pile on the left there is 18 inches of research, notes, reading. That's putting it together. And again, it has to meet strict editorial specifications. It must be a certain height. And again, it's being verified. And the actual book is there on the right. And but that's seriously, cool. There is a year's worth of research and effort. I had to build 15 projects, design them, code them, document them, do all the schematics and drawings, and then I had to write about them too. So there's a lot of effort and time that goes into this book. And
you tell me when you go to the next slide.
Yeah, go ahead and go on to the next one. And this came in just yesterday. The book has been turned into ARRL, and we are now in the final edit stages. And this is the first chapter, first page of the Arduino Part 2 book that hopefully we'll have out in time for Dayton. But it is now in the process of being laid up and put together. And just thought we'd let you see a sneak peek of where we're opening with. And go ahead and go on to the next one there. And this is what we've got in the book. We're going to do an update on everything because so much has changed in the 2 or 3 years since I did the last book. And you've got, the Arduino updates. We got a whole bunch of new Arduino boards and variants and some really cool things, as you'll see when we get to the projects. We've got a whole bunch of new shields and devices. We were talking in the chat room earlier. One of the gentlemen here built a VFO, and you've been working with VFOs and stuff on your BitX40 and things like that with the Arduino. We didn't have the DDS really back in the first book. Some of the other things I go into are the I/O methods. There's a whole bunch of new methods in addition to the I2C and the SPI interfaces. Now, you got a lot of Wi-Fi and some other wireless interfaces and things that you can do, and a whole bunch of devices to use that. And the next thing we do is we go a little bit into the thought process of how to create Arduino projects. And part of that is back to the elmering segment we had earlier. This is my way of elmering into Arduino. And, yes, you get 15 projects that I think are cool, but you also, get a look as to how to write your own sketches, how to build your own projects. Because the goal of this is not for you to copy what I've done. I want you to take what I've done and expand on it. And I've seen this from my first book. There's a lot of people that expanded on and created some really cool things. And then also, as we move forward, there's now a lot of Android and PC side applications that you can link, like George was talking about earlier, that you can link with the Arduino and do a lot of control and internet-based control. And so the next thing is, as far as building test equipment, you don't need a lot of money, but there's some really good inexpensive test equipment that you can get into on this. And then we've got 15, and there's been some confusion on this I've seen floating around. These projects in this book are 15 completely brand new projects. They're very little carried over from the first book. The second book is totally new, totally fresh, totally unique. And we'll show you the projects in the next. These are the projects that are scheduled to be in the book. Again, we're still in the editing phase, so I really don't know. And what's going to stay if... I don't think we're cutting anything. I mean, basically, the position I'm hearing back is everything is exactly what they want size-wise and everything. So these are the projects that we've got in the book. That auto power on-off, that's the APO for like in your car. When you turn off the ignition, it'll delay X amount of time and then shut the power down to your equipment so you don't run your battery down and things of that nature. Station power monitor, I actually modeled that off of the old Heathkit station monitor that had the clock and the everything on it, power output and current load. Then we've got an AC current monitor that actually does calculations for kilowatt hours and your cost per kilowatt hour. So it's good for energy monitoring and conservation. One of the favorite projects that I had in here is this voice memory keyer. It is literally a 200 and don't quote me on the hard number here. It's like 250 individual voice memories that you upload into this, and it's basically it's a $5 chip that will give you 250 voice memories. There's not an antenna tuner, but just hang loose and we'll show you something that's almost as good. We've got a wireless remote coax switch, just because.
Now, what's the range on that wireless remote switch?
Well, here's the funny part. It's 20 kilometers.
20 kilometers, that's...
about 18 miles, 17, 16 miles.
0.6 times 12 something? 12, 13?
No, it's closer to 16 or 17.
Oh, is it? So you can remote a antenna switch 18 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I'd like to see the cost on the coax for that.
Yeah.
But no, it was one of those, the product that I chose, it's called the Feather series from Adafruit. And it uses the 900 megahertz industrial, scientific, and medical band. And it's a 100 milliwatt radio. It's unlicensed. You don't need a license for it. And it just happens to have that range capability. And I wanted to do 2 wireless projects, and once I found the Feather, I really fell in love with it. We're talking a $34 Arduino board. And then we've got a remote telemetry project that does the other, and will actually send you back telemetry from the remote site, like a repeater site, your power output, battery voltage, temperature, humidity, intrusion, things of that nature. And then a GPS Ethernet NTP server. If you're doing things like JT65, you need accurate time. And you may be somewhere where you don't have a network connection or your cell phone doesn't work. So we've got a GPS that will feed you very accurate network time. And then, 17 miles RG174. That'll work real good. But Yaesu FT series rotor controllers. How many of you out there have a Yaesu FT950 and have wondered what that rotor controller does? And it only controls the Yaesu DXA series of rotors. And I'm like, I want it to control the CDE rotors. So we built an interface for that. And then those of you that have a G450 A or the G800 SA Yaesu rotors, you may get what I call the creeping crud, which is over time you just can't calibrate those things anymore. So we came up with a project that will totally rebuild the electronic guts in the Yaesu. And then we also modify a working one. Then we were talking about the VFO. There's your DDS VFO project. We're going to skip.
Let me jump back on the rotor controller there now. Those Yaesu control boxes have been known what the board goes bad inside, right?
It just goes bad.
It goes bad. And what's it cost to fix one of those?
You can't. Yaesu doesn't have the boards. It's a throwaway item at that point.
All right. But your Arduino plug-in takes the place of that board.
Completely replaces that board.
It replaces it. Okay, cool.
Completely replaces that control board. And we're going to skip over here a little bit. As you saw in my last visit here, I had the 40-meter QRP CW cube transceiver, and we also did the JT65 transceiver cube on the show before that. And let's go on to the next list, and this will actually show you pictures of the projects. These are a lot of the projects in the book. One thing that was not on that list that I may have overlooked is a load tester. This is where you put a 12-volt load. And that load tester can handle up to 20 amps. So let's say you're at a Hamfest and you want to buy a battery. Is this battery any good? You don't know. So you can put this load tester on it and it will check and give you a monitoring of the charge and how it discharges, a discharge rate. And you can program a load anywhere from 3 amps or 1.5 amps to 21 amps. So you can program a load. You can also use it to test power supplies. I found something very interesting about a power supply whose manufacturer I will not discuss because I actually like their stuff. It's a 25 amp supply, and I gave it a 20 amp load. After 20 minutes, it said I quit, and it actually thermally tripped. So it was not capable of 25 amps at full load permanently. But anyway, these are some of the projects in the book. You can see the 2 cube radios. And on the left, you see these smaller cubes. I got these at Hobby Lobby, and I had a lot of fun building inside them. It's almost like a ship in the bottle thing. All right, 20 kilometers is 12.4 miles. So we're both wrong.
You go.
We're both wrong.
0.62 times it.
Yeah, right. Don't talk math to me. I don't do this science and stuff. No, I just make it up as I go.
It may be 6.4. It's 0.6 something.
Yeah. All right. Either way, it's longer than a piece of coax I'm going to run.
That's right.
But anyway, that's what most of the projects in the book look like. Of course, you don't have the Yaesu because I'm not pulling the Yaesu out of my shack and things of that nature. I did show those on a previous show. And now what we have here, this is one of those projects. Some of you, go ahead and show me.
Let's see. Let me pull you up right there. There we go.
Some of you are familiar with these. New from Popiel's. But this is the Yaesu MFJ antenna analyzer. It is a super thing. I love it. I have one. But, if you need something just a little lighter, we have an Arduino powered antenna analyzer. And this uses one of those DDS's. And it actually measures it. It's actually a resistive bridge. It's 450 ohms. And so it will measure how close the antenna is to 50 ohms. And it's set, this program, the sketch in here, I can select my band from 160 to 10. and just hit start, just push the button here and actually scan the band. And let's go back to the picture. And the name of the new book, while he's finding the picture here, is Arduino for Ham Radio Part 2. And hopefully we'll have it out in time for Dayton. That's what we're shooting for. This is the insides of this little box. As you can see, it's just a little Arduino Nano and a DDS and a couple other little projects. Then we've got the color LCD. And then let's go on to the next page, and they'll show you. This is the output on the LCD. This is on my Mosley TA33 tri-band beam on 20 meters. And you can see it is flat at 1.5 in the middle of the band. And that is, I measured this with my MFJ, and it is literally the two traces track nearly identically. And this little project only costs you about $40 to build.
That's cool.
Or less. And so I think that's the last slide we got.
Last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the upcoming book, some of the projects in the book. You've seen some of the other ones I brought before.
So, we jumped right into shack pictures and right into your segment here, but I didn't mention for people that maybe this is the first time they've actually seen Glen, but Glen is the author of several ARRL published books. The first one, Arduino for Ham Radio, and then the second one was High-Speed Multimedia for Ham Radio. And you got those there?
I got these here.
And then
cheap plug.
The next book that's coming out, the ARRL's wanting to name it Part 2, so it's Arduino for Ham Radio Part 2. So there's a lot of good stuff in here, especially if you're interested in mesh networks or whatever. It's a great book to have too.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, and I didn't bring that particular slide with me, but I do it in a lot of my forum presentations. And that's, we did Arduino 1. And it was very popular. It hit the mark. Everybody loved it. I was real happy with it. And then I was all set to start on Arduino 2. And then along came this multimedia. It used to be mesh networking, but there's so many variations on that technology now that mesh really doesn't fit the technology. So we called it high-speed multimedia. And we have that book. And as soon as I finished that, I mean, literally, we had no sooner turned that one into ARRL, and they said, let's do Arduino 2. And I've been working on that since March of last year. Jim, as far as a project analyzer, I don't know if I called mine a project analyzer. It's really an SWR or an antenna analyzer for my case. Now, Al may have to clarify on what he's talking about. I think we're talking about the same thing. I'm not going to tell you my call. That way you can't turn me in. The call is KW5GP. Kilo Whiskey 5 Giant Panda. So, anyway.
Or Goofy Person.
Goofy Person, yeah, that works too. Catman, no, that doesn't fit in the call anyway.
GP, Catman, it doesn't work.
But we were talking earlier, those two monsters that you saw, literally, those are Maine Coon, and they're still kittens. They got about 2 more years of growing. And the mornings, coffee is like, the old Wild Kingdom episodes, with Jim is out there dealing with feeding the wild tiger cub while I sit safely in the Land Rover. And that's literally this cat in the morning, because you have 17 pounds of kitten. And you're dealing with ADHD kitten. And you try sipping a cup of coffee and have this paw come up and help the cup into your face. And that's the mornings. But they're actually going to a cat show here in a couple weeks. And they still have about 2 years of growing to go, so they're going to be monsters. But
I was looking at the chat room.
Yeah.
One of our faithful viewers, Mark P., gave us a compliment. He wanted to know how we were doing so good to green screen you into the studio here with me.
Yeah, I'm not really here. I'm a figment of your imagination.
That's right. And I'm really not here either. This is a virtual reality thing right here. Laser beams are making me right now, and we just don't want to cross the paths, right?
No, you don't want to cross the streams.
If we cross the streams with these, we're going to be in trouble, guys.
Yeah, but anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for this evening. I know you were talking about maybe wanting to open up for questions or anything like that.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's do this right now. we'll open a phone line for questions. If people would like to talk with you, we can bring them in on the phone. But let's also open Hangout at the same time, and in that way people can ask questions if they want to during Hangout. Maybe one won't interrupt the other. So let me see if I can get Hangout going here, and I think Kathy's going to put the address in for Hangout. So all I got to do is a couple mouse clicks.
Yeah. Horseman, the I2C bus, is it open collector? I think it is open collector, so I think, yes, you can share it between two, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. I think there would be a better way to link the two together. That would be something dependent on the project itself, I would think, what you're trying to accomplish. I'm not sure I would want to try to share buses like that between two Arduinos. Yep.
Let me see if I can put the phone number up here somewhere where we can see it. Yeah, we'll do that. See if that. If anybody wants to call in and talk with Glenn, you can dial 901-286-1116. Yeah. Or you can join us on Hangout.
And VA1DWG, I really don't know. I'm hoping that they price it the same as the last book, but I really can't say for sure because, again, we haven't edited it yet. We haven't trimmed it down or cleaned it up at this point. I will tell you that it came in at 50% more words than in the first book. There are 330 drawings and pictures and schematics. So it came in substantially longer than the first book, which is why we only have 15 projects instead of 19. So it's really hard to say at this point because we're still in the final put it together phase.
Look there, Cast has got your high-speed multimedia book. Yeah, so
cool.
That's that one you were talking about selling, right?
That's this one, yeah.
I mean, that's the one that you sold, right?
Sell?
The one that you sold, right?
I'm not selling this one to nobody.
No. I'm saying, the quality sold one. He's the guy that bought the one. I made
at least one sale.
He's the guy that bought one of the books.
He's the one who bought the one. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Jeff on here up in New Jersey. Look what Jeff has got on his desk.
He's got a Yaesu rotor controller.
Yeah.
The cat decided to show up.
Yeah. So Jeff, what kind of cat you got there?
Is that a Blue Point Siamese?
That is a Blue Point. Yes. Yeah. Good eye.
Wow. Hey, I tell you, at first I didn't see it very well. What do you think about those cats where they don't have any hair on them? They just,
the Sphinx.
Is that what it is?
The Sphinx. The Sphinx.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
I can bring it up.
I used to be a cat show household pet judge, and part of the judging program was dealing with a lot of the purebreds, and of course showing. All my friends are into the purebreds, and one of them was a Sphinx breeder. And let me tell you, and you can say this because you have one. The feel on those things is not what you would expect. It's not dry skin. It's a very smooth.
I think it feels like suede.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, let me make a quick announcement here. Lord Robert up at WBCQ just came back in the chat room. And I just wanted to make a quick announcement. And Lord Robert, if you would like to end the show here in a few minutes, you can go ahead and kill the shortwave station, because Hangout usually we don't know what we're going to talk about here.
Where we're going.
And it's probably pretty messy for shortwave listeners. But hey, if you're a shortwave listener out there, send us a signal report to Tom at W5KUB.com. Tom at W5KUB.com. Give us a signal report. Also, we're going to kill the shortwave station right now, but if you'd like to watch the rest of the show and you have a computer, go to W5KUB.com, and you can continue watching the show there. I want to thank Robert up here at WBCQ putting us on up here. Let me just put a plug in for WBCQ. If you'd like to have your own radio program, contact Robert up there at WBCQ at WBCQ.com, and for about $25 an hour, he can put you on the air up there, and you can have your own international radio station there. So VA1 DWG says don't kill the station. Well, Robert may want to go to bed up here. I think we're the last show on tonight, and I don't know how the weather's getting up here. It might still be kind of cold.
I don't know. It's pretty wicked this morning here.
They usually have about 3 feet of snow up here, so it may be cold and want to go to bed. So Robert, you make the decision if you want to turn the shortwave off tonight. Go right ahead. Normally we're on for about another 25 minutes, but no big deal for us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Let me answer Horseman's question there in the chat room, KN4AR. No, you cannot expand the memory on Arduino. You can go to Omega, but as my book points out, there's a lot of new options. There has been some big changes, in particular with the Cortex M3 and M4 processor lines that are now all integrated into the same Arduino IDE. You can use the same sketch and program it into an Uno or into some other processor. And a lot of these processors have, there's the Sphinx. A lot of these processors have a lot more memory and flash and RAM without a whole lot of extra cost. Like the Feathers, they're using an ARM Cortex M0. So you're not forced into the large footprint of Omega. Matter of fact, there's a product that I have that I've got listed in the book. It's called the Teensy. They've got several lines in the Teensy, Teensy L3, 3.2, 3.5, and 3.6, and they are not much bigger than a little USB, kind of like a Nano with a little 1/4 inch longer, and or a 1/2 inch longer maybe, and they have 40-something I/O pins and a huge amount of flash. So there is a lot of options other than the Mega.
All right.
But yeah, that is a pretty cat. Strange. You have to get used to them.
Now tell me about the cat. You're a cat expert now.
Yes.
Do they grow hair, or does somebody shave it off of them?
No. That is the way they come. Some of them have a very fine fuzz, like he says. It feels like suede.
Yeah.
But that is the way they are born.
Well, how did it happen? Did the thing get around like a nuclear power plant or something? Back, that strain or whatever you call it. I mean, that's not normal, man.
No, actually, back in the 80s, around the same time that they came out, they found the Bengal cats. If you've seen the Bengals, the Sphinx,
like a Bengal tiger.
It has the Bengal tiger markings. They're very vivid markings.
Let me go get that one.
Oh, you got a Bengal?
Nah, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, man. But, I mean, you got a nice-looking Siamese and the Sphinx there. But in the 80s, they discovered the mutation with the Sphinx, and there was a group in France. Welcome to Cat Show World, by the way. There was a group in France and some in New York. And actually, Carol Richards out in Texas was also breeding them. And so they're a mutation, and they just started creating them. And then they got them into the purebred lines and started advancing them towards the showing ability. The Cortex, you've got the ARM Cortex, the ARM Cortex M0, the M0 Plus, the M3, and the M4. And no, they're not really desert cats, Andy. Interestingly enough, you find a lot of them in cold climates, but it's kind of like a dog. You make sure they have their own little sweater on because they do, they're like a human skin. It's cold.
Well, I tell you, this show has really gotten off track. Usually in this segment, we talk about colon scopes and things like that.
Yeah, I'm here. We're going any direction we want to go.
I can't believe we're on caps tonight.
Yeah, well, come on, you know that. It was going to be me. We're going to go there. Yes, VA1DWG. A lot of the projects in this next book, I use the Nano. I use the Adafruit Feather, the LoRa, L-O-R-A. That's the 900 megahertz ISM band radio built on the board. A lot of the projects use the Nano. I still have projects that use the Uno, and I have one project that uses the Digilent chip kit UC32. It used to be the Uno 32, but they upgraded it, and it's now called the UC32. And N5KS KD, that was the Adafruit Feather LoRa. And you'll want the 900 megahertz version, not the 400 megahertz version. And the biggest thing to deal with that is the licensing restrictions on 400 megahertz. It's kind of like going around your elbow to get to places. It's the licensing restrictions on 400 megahertz are just painful, whereas 900 megahertz, the licensing restrictions for use in the ISM band is very, very lax and a lot more flexible.
Can a person use a Nano to build some of the projects?
Yeah, that's what I answered there
did
before.
you? Okay. So you can use what, the Uno and the Nano? And, I mean, all those are pretty much...
Yeah, and actually we were talking on the way over, in this book, one of the things I'm very proud of is it probably has the most complete chart of all of the Arduinos and the available variants on it and what their capacity memory-wise and capabilities. Talking about the interrupts there, WA7JOS. Yes, you have multiple interrupts on the Arduino. You've got what they call timer interrupts, and you also have, which are based on the internal millisecond time clock, but you also have external interrupts. And on the Arduino, you've got like 2 external interrupts on the Uno, but on some of these variant boards, you've got 20, 24, 26 pins of interrupt capability.
Is there a problem getting any knockoff or fake Arduinos, out of China or something that don't work? They're sold as Arduino, but they don't work.
That's a great question.
Or is it pretty? Well, you're pretty safe on most.
You're pretty safe, and here's why. I have bought God knows how many Unos and Arduinos over the 50, 100 maybe, and I'll have to build all my projects. I've gotten one bad one in, and I get them exclusively from eBay. I bought a couple of the original Arduinos, but I get them all from eBay now. The Arduino is open source. The hardware is open source. This means anybody can take that device and build it and use that and call it. They cannot call it an Arduino. And in fact, there was a copyright trademark issue, and this is why you now see the official Arduinos called the Genuino, because the Arduino had become so prevalent that it was just not worth fighting the trademark issues. But the name Arduino is trademarked, copyrighted, etc. You cannot build that. But you can take their schematics off of their website, etch your own board, and call it the Tomuino, and boom, you can sell it and release it as your own. So I
got a question then. So if you're buying an Arduino, are you buying from the correct source, or if you're buying a Tomuino, you're not?
Well, because it's open source, there's no real statement as correct source. You can say official source, and yes, you would get it from Arduino.cc and get it directly from or Radio Shack, I think, even stocks them now. But yeah, you can get an official Arduino, but because they released it open source, they're all effectively officially what I call an Arduino variant. And they have the same functionality, same chips. It's just they're not distributed by the official Arduino people. But it's all legal and proper, and there's no problem. And in my case, these days I get everything from eBay.
Oh, too.
Okay, no, I've used a few around the shack here. Huh? So just curious to make sure that I'm getting something that I know is official.
Yeah, I have not gotten anything. Like I say, one order out of thousands. I mean, we're talking probably $8,000 worth of parts over 5 years. I've had one or two bad orders.
Some of it's pretty cheap made, yeah. but Glenn, I order so much out of China on eBay now that every day I have a package coming in, and I go out to the mailbox. It's like Christmas. I have no idea what's in that package because it was ordered 3 weeks ago, and open it up, and this is neat.
Yeah. Oh, it's Christmas at my house every other day.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? I mean, to be able to buy stuff so cheap from China.
Oh, yeah. The problem is we're probably selling out America $1 at a time with free shipping.
How do you do that? How do they do that?
Yeah. I mean, I just ordered 100 1K resistors for 99 cents and free shipping. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
But WA7JOS, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, because one of the things, actually at least 2 projects in the book, and I think several others, do include interrupts, and I address the interrupt concept thoroughly in the foundation sections. The first 7 chapters are what I call foundation. They're introductory material. So I do cover interrupts thoroughly, and at least 2 of the projects I'd have to think a little more and take a quick look at the project list. But I know at least 2 do, and I want to say probably 3 or 4 projects and do interrupts. So you will have a lecture, and don't want to call it a lecture, a tutorial on interrupts in this next book.
So hey, let me throw out a quick announcement here. Let me click on something here. Here we go. Hey, I just wanted to mention Curtis Moore, K5CLM out of Godley, Texas. He's got a podcast called everythinghamradio.com. So, hey guys, check out his podcast, everythinghamradio.com, and he updates it every Thursday, and he's got a lot of neat stuff on there.
And while I'm talking about this, and I mentioned it earlier, but I don't think it really got to sink in, with all these new variants with the different processors, the ARM Cortex and all of these, they have unified the Arduino IDE in that all of these variants can now be programmed from just the Arduino IDE. You go to SparkFun or Adafruit, and they've got the, for lack of a better word, drivers that you actually integrate into your IDE. So one time, easy to put in URL, boom, done. And now I can program an ARM Cortex M0 and M4, use the exact same sketch and program it and work on anything.
Where are the books available?
Where are they available? They are available at ARRL.org /store or shop.
I don't know.
ARRL.org.shop. They are ARRL books.
Can you not buy them through Amazon or something?
You can also get them through Amazon. That was one of the most unique things when I got the first book published, because I'd never written a book before. And as soon as it came out, I realized, oh my God, I'm on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And then it was, oh my God, I'm going to be reviewed on Amazon. And
that's cool.
It was, and the nice thing is the first couple of reviews was just really glowing, and I'm just like, wow. You know, it's one thing when you're in the zone writing this, but when you write a book, you really, and again, in my first book, I didn't know what I was doing, and I still don't. But when you do this, you're like, I hope I did it right. I hope the people that get it get their money's worth, get what they wanted, get what they expected, but you never know. And when the response came back on that first book, it was just mind-blowing. And when I saw those Amazon reviews, I was just bouncing off the walls. Because it's like, yes, you know, I hit it right. People feel and think like I do. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hey, let me mention next week on a show, we've got Dara. Michael Coulter is going to come back in next week and give us more information and update about what's going on at the new Hamvention up there. And we're going to be there. They're going to put us somewhere in a nice spot, hopefully. And we're going to give away a bunch of prizes up here.
I cannot wait for Dayton this year. Dayton, Xenia, whatever you want to call it. We've got a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
We got a room like 2 miles away from
that's
the
good.
fairgrounds.
We moved our hotel into Beaver Creek, which is nearby there. But we're going to, hey, if anybody is going to be at Dayton this year at the new Hamvention, come by and see us. We don't know where we're going to be yet. Hambot's going to be there. Come by and say hello to Hambot. Now, Hambot has been going on a tour talking about, you know, how he's going to be giving away prizes. Here's Hambot for you guys.
I love him. That's
I found the Glen Popiel ARRL DX Engineering has.
DX Engineering's talking it. Cool. Very good.
All right. So let's see. Let me find back. Let's get us back. Here we go. Okay.
Now, last year they had me at the ARRL booth, and I signed some of the books and met with everybody, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. And this year, I can't talk about it yet because it's not official, and I need for the announcement to come from official sources. But let's just say that I think there's some interesting things on tap for Dayton involving makers and Arduino, and not just Arduino, but makers of all types, the Raspberry Pi and stuff. But I'm not going to be able to talk much more about it until it's official.
If they bring their book by, will you autograph it for them?
Absolutely.
Write a little neat note in there?
No, I don't write neat, but I will sign it.
Okay.
There is nothing neat about anything I do, Tom. I should have been a doctor because nobody can read my writing, but
That's
yeah, but
yeah, me too.
but no, that was actually a lot. For me, at Dayton last year, ARRL had me do 2 book signing sessions, one on Friday and one on Saturday. And let me tell you, for me personally, I had as much fun as you guys did with that. I enjoyed people coming up and asking questions about the book and talking about the book, and some of them showing me some of the things they had built. And that's my goal is, I don't care if you make something better than me. That's what I want you to do. I want you to take these designs and move forward and, go beyond. That's the whole goal here. And you're not going to hurt my feelings or embarrass me at all if you come out with something that makes mine look like garbage, and more power to you.
But, all these things are they're open source pretty much, aren't they, that you're doing. And if a guy wants to make a little change to your program, he just
knock it out.
He goes in there. If he wants to add a little S meter to the display or a voltage meter to the display, you just add it, right?
Yeah. Somebody took the CW decoder from my first book and entered it in the Missouri QRP Ozarkon, and they took a best in show with it.
Cool.
I'm like, cool. No, this is the whole world of open source, is the sharing and the growing and the learning. I'm more the ambassador. I want y'all to get into this stuff and have as much fun as I have, because I will tell you, and my friends will tell you, building these 15 projects was hard because I wanted them to be really cool and I wanted them to be fun, but I also, the same philosophy that we did in the first book, which is, I'm stopping here. I'm going to leave you some enhancement ideas so you could move forward with this. And to answer questions in the chat room, we are editing that book right now. It should be out in time for Dayton. And the question, the 40x2 came without a backlight.
Going to have to shine a flashlight on it, probably.
You sure it doesn't have the backlight built into it and you just need to get it turned on? Because most of those 40x2s have a backlight built in. Yeah. But if you don't have a backlight, Tom's answer is pretty much you got to sign a flashlight on it. And as far as the Nano better than make projects than the Uno, they are functionally identical. The Nano has one more analog pin. It's got an A6 pin, and that's it. It is an Uno. It's the same
the
chip.
Nano, it's got the little USB port on it. I guess
got,
is that where you get the power through the USB port?
Or through a pin on the board.
A pin on the board.
But the Nano is, I wish I had this open now.
Yeah.
The Nano is just a small board. So in answer to your question, which one is better, do you want a small project to fit in a tiny space? Or do you want the ability to build your project on a prototyping shield that would snap on top of the Uno?
Yeah.
And it all depends on which you prefer to build with. I do both, depending on the project. For example, the CW rigs in the book.
14-pin Samsung. I guess that's his 40x2.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Email me the specs on that at KW5GP at ARRL.net, and I'll look into that, see if I can find you an answer. But with the Nano, the Cube radios, I used Unos so I could build all of the electronics on a plug-in shield. And I can't talk about it, darn it. I have something else that uses a Nano that's equally as cool. And a lot of those smaller Cube projects that you saw on the earlier slide, those use Nanos. The bigger cubes, I tend to use an Uno. And by the way, I get those cubes at Hobby Lobby for like 99 cents or $3 or something like that a piece, and they're really fun to build in.
Yeah.
So
the difference between the Uno and the Nano is there's really no difference other than the fact that you can put a shield on top of it.
Yeah, it's physical size.
Okay.
That's
So
really...
it's the same chipset.
Yeah, it is the exact same as chipset. It's the ATmega 328 or the 32U4 now, but that's the same as in the Leo, and the Arduino R2 is the ATmega 328. And actually, I take it back. The Nano is the 328 as well. They don't have the 32U4. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Nano and the Uno are functionally identical, just size-wise.
Well, that's good information.
All right, let's see. We got Mike up. Is it Mike up here in the Ooper? We got Mike the Ooper up here.
Ooper.
Mike, what do you? What Ooper? Ooper? I don't know how to say it.
You'll get it one of these days.
He's in the UP.
UP. Upper. Upper.
No.
Yeah.
Ooper.
Yeah, they pronounce it Yooper.
Ooper.
See, I got it first time.
You guys talk funny up here, you know.
Well, yeah.
You guys talk funny down there. We have no accent up here. You guys down there got it.
We don't have accents down here either.
It's as the internet transverses the Smith and Wesson line, there's a lot of distortion.
Is there a Smith and Wesson?
Smith and Wesson line.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They call it the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
So we call it the Smith and Wesson line.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, Uber is now in the Webster Dictionary. You look it up.
Okay, well, Jill just gave me the exact pronunciation here in the chat room. Uper.
Yeah, that sounds like a Michigan or a Wisconsin last name.
You betcha.
Where are you from?
Michigan, the Upper Peninsula.
He's a Uper.
There we go.
He's a Uper.
He's from? He's from Uper.
He's from Uper.
He's a Uper. He's up there, you know, hey, you got this, right? And then you got...
That's that lower.
You got this. Is it this or is it this? I never get it right. Which one is it? The state looks like this. It looks like the mitten, you know, with the glove.
Yeah.
And then you got this little thing up here somewhere. I think that's the Ooper up there.
Yeah.
Your hand at your face.
It's also known as the end of the world during winter.
So, Mike, do you use a right hand or left hand? Right hand or left hand?
Don't answer it. It's a trick question.
There's your Lower Peninsula.
Right hand?
Detroit down here.
Now,
It's that.
but are you looking at the front or the back of the hand?
Well,
See, when I'm looking at him on the show, it looks backwards.
Yeah.
that's the translation across the Smith and Wesson line. It just
My
distorts
camera's
it.
got me screwed up here. There we go.
I used to work for Control Data and a network system, so I got to spend many a winter in Minneapolis.
Hey, you still got snow up there?
Yeah, it's good. We got plenty of snow up here yet. 50-some degrees, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm not putting the snowblower away yet.
I was with Control Data for like 14 years going up to Minneapolis for training before I realized y'all actually had grass and stuff underneath that white stuff.
Yeah, it sprouts for a little while in the summer.
Yeah. But I always got, for us Southern guys, they always gave us the middle of winter classes. We never got spring until my very last year with them, and then I got a spring trip, and I'm like, wow, this is such a different, pretty place.
Yeah. Well, I'm about 1 mile from the southern shore of Lake Superior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for you.
Let me tell you something. I remember one year I went up there and I flew in and it was 22 below. I was there for a month, and when I flew out, it was 21 below. And I was from Miami, okay? That just was not right on so many levels.
Man. Well, we get our share of bad weather down here.
Yeah,
we
but we've
get
had
winter.
we had a mild winter.
We get winter.
I thought this winter was going to be bad. We've had nothing for winter.
Yeah. Did we get any snow this winter?
You guys get those tornadoes and all that stuff down there. We don't get
Oh,
it.
did we? At one time or different times?
Yeah, like just before Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mike, we had snow here for 4 days, man.
4 days.
Right before Christmas. That's right.
Left a whopping, what,
How long?
inch and a half on the ground?
Yeah.
Cool.
But see, now you
Inches is just a dusty for us.
It got really deep here. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. So you have to understand that in this area, 3 snowflakes constitute a apocalypse. And 4 snowflake means if you are out on the road, you might as well go buy a new car because somebody's going to wreck it for you. And I'm not joking. 1.5 inches here, it is the end of the world.
Oh my goodness.
Does everyone run out and buy the eggs, milk, and bread?
Oh, all they have to do is say it might snow next week. And there is not a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, nothing to be found in the stores.
The milk companies do that.
Everyone's making the French toast. That's what they do.
Yeah. Now, here's the funny thing. If you don't have power, how are you going to keep that milk cold?
Put it outside.
What is so funny,
Put it outside.
we think of that answer. We'll just put it outside. I have had so many friends, power's out, all my milk is going bad. I'm like, why did you go to the store and buy milk?
Look, hey, there's in the chat room, there's Horseman, KN4A AR, retired Air Force, South Georgia. He says no winter. Now, hey, I was in the Air Force. I spent 4 years. Talk about winter now, man. I got to, hey, I'm like Osai on Duck Dynasty. I mean, this is a true story. 90% of my stories are true. I did go through a survival school, and it was 20 below. I lived in a parachute for 2 weeks, 20 below, when I was in the mob in the Air Force. And hey, we'd go out on deployments, and they'd always have us go out when it was snow on the ground. We'd set our tents up, and about 3 days later, the floor, all the snow melted inside the tent. But boy, right there by your cot, you can take a canned Coke and stick it out under that tent, into that snow, and you got your own refrigerator there.
See, so, we think of this stuff.
Up here, Tom, because the air base here was K.I. Sawyer Air Force Base was just 20 miles south of town here. We should have got stationed up here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've had many a friend get stationed up at Minot.
I used to get a kick out of when the winter would come in, new transfers to the Air Force Base while I was on the police department. So they'd be off in the ditch calling records for them, and the airmen, and I say, "You just moved here from some place with no snow. You don't know how to drive, do you?" That's what I found out. So you'll learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, man, hey, Mike, what are the smelt runs?
Those are the little fishes like sardines.
They used to have the big smelt netting, and they go out at night and catch all the smelt, and then you bite the head off and eat your smelt.
Why would you bite the head off and eat the rest of it? Why wouldn't you eat the whole thing? Oh, we got a phone call. Phone call coming in. Let me get this phone call if I can figure out how to answer it. Hang on. All right, who's on the phone?
Hey, it's
Mustache. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Turn this audio up, Tom.
Down the Skype.
Yeah, where you located?
I'm located in Brooklyn.
Okay, cool.
He's way up there.
You watch the show tonight?
Yeah, I've been watching
Cool.
recently.
Cool. So what's going on with you up there?
Just life,
Oh.
No, that one right there. Okay.
I wanted to call you guys and ask you if you have seen the documentary Hellstorm.
I haven't.
What is it? Documentary what?
Hellstorm?
The documentary is called Hellstorm.
Hellstorm. No, I haven't seen that one.
Hellstorm. It's a documentary about the attempted genocide on the German people during and after World War II.
No, I've seen other documentaries, but I've never seen that one.
It's really, really great. You should maybe watch it sometime. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see.
We'll have to check that out.
You were talking about biting the head off these fish and eating them. when that call came in. Now, my question is there something wrong with the head?
No, that's just kind of a tradition thing.
No,
I don't
it's
fish at
tradition
all.
kind of thing,
I
yeah.
have a daily hour to fish, so I don't fish and handle them all. But that's what they used to do, is like a tradition. When you first take somebody out smelt fishing, you tell them that they've got to bite the head off.
Oh, well, in my job at FedEx, I traveled a lot, and I was in Hong Kong a lot with my people there, and they'd take me out to dinner, and we were eating there, and this chicken would come around on a Lazy Susan, and the chicken head was there, and everybody's saying, who's going to eat the chicken head? And they were spinning it back and around, and nobody's going to eat the chicken head, so I said, I'll eat the chicken head. And my guy there kind of whispered in my ear, he said, you don't want to eat the chicken head. He said they inject hormones in it, and it could be poisonous. So I didn't eat the chicken head.
So you're saying that it's just a rite of ritual, passage to bite the head off.
Yeah.
And so
when you go smelting, it's like they got a bonfire out on the shore, and everybody's got probably their keg of beer, and it's
a rite of passage.
A big party.
Yeah. We got a call coming in, but it says it's an unknown phone number, so I'm not going to answer it. Guys, if you guys want to call in where we can see your phone number.
I think we probably just need to call it a night.
All right. Well, the only person here we hadn't woke up yet is Bill up in Massachusetts. Bill, wake up there.
Mm-hmm. I'm awake, Tom.
All right. Well, you just been sitting back listening, or you been dozing? What's the story up there?
I've been listening.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I guess we'll see you, Bill. We'll see you again here in a couple months, right?
Yeah. I plan on being in Ohio.
All right.
Cool.
How long does it take you? Do you drive that?
I only drove when I was living in Washington, D.C. And that was about an 8-hour trip. It's 18 hours from where I live in Massachusetts on the New Hampshire border. I normally fly out. I normally go through D.C.
Okay.
Where is it? LaGuardia. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not really one of those that like to drive long distances anymore.
All right. Hey, I see Delta in the chat room. Everybody say hello to Delta. Delta is the owner of Digital Addiction. He's the guy that owns the chat room here and puts us on the chat room. So say hi to Delta, and he's got other ham radio and shortwave chat rooms out there you might be interested in.
Gotta love Delta.
What was that?
Gotta love Delta.
Gotta love Delta.
Yeah.
Persistent.
Yeah. All right, if you're calling in, we would like to see your phone number. Unknown phone numbers, we're probably not going to answer an unknown phone number. So if you got your number blocked or masked, unblock it, and we'll be glad to have you. All right, so there's a few people out there saying hello to Delta. All right, guys, well, look, hey, it's 20 till. It's about time for a peanut butter sandwich here, so I'm thinking about getting out of here. Anybody got any last-minute thoughts? Comments?
Thoughts? Oh, no, that'd give me a headache. No thank you. It's past thinking time.
No, it's been fun. I enjoy coming.
Hey, thanks for coming, Glenn.
Oh, thank you. I enjoy it.
Yeah, Glenn, great topic tonight, and I'm looking forward to the new book.
Well, one of the things Tom and I talked about is, now that I'm not doing another book because it just takes so much out of me, I'll probably do one down the road here. I'll be saying that, but officially I'm not doing anything new until after Dayton. Is for me to come back on here every couple months, and I'll bring one of the new projects out of the book, and we'll talk about it.
That'd be a great idea, and even talking about how the programming works.
Yep, be glad to. We can do that a whole session. We'll bring some new toys and a project. I've got a new project. I'm just not talking about it because it's specially made for Dayton. And after Dayton, then you'll know all about it.
I'm going to have to come to Dayton to find out.
I do. Terry has
Look,
seen
hey,
it.
Hey, I got an idea. If we whisper about it like this.
If you whisper about it like this, the mic might catch it up. Yeah.
Tell me.
I
Like
can
right
tell
now.
you.
Tell me what.
Yeah, I can really tell you.
Talk lower.
Okay, it is.
What's it about? What do you got there?
What have I got there?
45 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
45 minutes an hour. What?
It's going to take that long to tell?
Talking about it,
You
right?
need that peanut butter sandwich, don't you?
45 minutes to an hour. Maybe 2 hours, maybe, to talk.
The way I can talk, yeah. Let's just say that it is something really cool, something really new, and really tiny. And I think it's. I'm looking forward to it. I had a lot of fun building it, but I really.
It's 2 hours at least you can talk.
I could talk about it for 2 hours
At least.
at least.
More.
It's fun. It was, like I say, with this particular book,
Do it.
I wasn't going to do it. And then it was, yeah, maybe I need to. And next thing you know, I'm building this thing. And literally, I'm shoehorning components into a 3x3x3 plastic cube. And that's all I will tell you is that this whole project fits inside a 3x3 inch cube.
Those cubes that you have are pretty cool. And I know you mentioned.
Yeah, I get all those at Hobby Lobby, and then I just bought one the other day, and it was like on sale for 99 cents or something like that.
Baseball
Lobby,
trophy,
lobby.
golf-
They're
Is that
baseball
a word or
trophy
is that
cases.
online?
golf balls are the tiny ones.
No, actually, it turns out the tiny ones are hardball baseball
Okay.
or tennis ball, and the large one is a softball, and that's a 4x4 cube. The JT65 and the CW 40 meter CW rig, they're built in a 4x4 cube.
Oh, so
And
they hold baseballs or
yeah, they are called baseball display, softball display cases,
Well, that makes it easier.
and they're back in the hobby section near the models. And I was just walking through, and I'm a very dangerous person when I'm on a project idea because I have something in my head and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'll start scouring ham fests and Hobby Lobby and things like that, just looking for things and say, is that cool to build in? And literally my brain just starts going creative of what could I do with this? And I was in Hobby Lobby and I saw these smaller cubes, and about a third of the projects in the book are built on the small 3x3 inch cube. Those were the small ones that you saw on the far left, and the big cubes were in the back on the display. And they're just fun to build with. You know, a Nano fits perfectly inside one of those.
That's cool.
And matter of fact, the Adafruit feather boards are about the same footprint as a Nano. And the neat thing about the feathers I didn't mention, they actually have what they call feather wings for the feathers, and they are literally a shield that fits on that Nano style type footprint for the feathers. So you can have these little shields. But the Adafruit feathers fit inside those little baseball display cases. So you've got a 100 milliwatt, 900 megahertz data transceiver that fits in this little 3x3 inch cube.
That's amazing.
And it has,
Question.
excuse me.
You call it Adafruit. Is it? I always figured it was Adafruit, like as you're adding fruit to the Raspberry Pi or adding the.
Well, no, it's actually the founder. Her name is Lady Ada, Ladyada, Lenore Freed, and she actually just passed all 3 ham license tests in the same day, about a year ago. But it's Adafruit, named after Lady Ada, which is obviously her handle on chat and stuff.
Now I know.
And they've got excellent tutorials, excellent stuff, and I really love their feather line. I mean, you give me a 100 milliwatt, 900 megahertz transceiver with data transmission libraries already built there, packet style libraries, reliable data transmission, an IP stack. I'm set to go. You give me a 100 milliwatt, 900 megahertz transceiver, I can go anywhere.
All right. Well, speaking of go anywhere, we're
You're
gonna
gonna
end the show. We're gonna end the show right here because you've got to drive all the way back to Mississippi.
And I gotta go to Rosedale, Mississippi tomorrow.
Down here we call it Mississippi.
Mississippi. See, I'm from Miami. Okay, I'm still learning the accent.
Up here.
What?
This is up here.
We're
We had to
up here.
cross the state line to get here, and we were
That's
afraid.
true. That's true. Up here
We
we
thought
call
they were
it.
going to make us show our passports or something.
Up here it's Mississippi. So
Yeah.
we abbreviate things. You just take one of the ISS's out, I think. Or
Yeah.
You take the ISS out.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
But-
you guys get together and have a good night. You betcha.
All right, man. You
All
take
right,
it easy.
Mark, we'll see you up there in Michigan.
Yeah, I got to go somewhere even really bad tomorrow. I'm going into the Delta.
Going to the
All right.
Delta. All
Oh,
right.
be careful of the Biloxi there.
Now, when you go into the Mississippi Delta, the bugs hum the theme to Deliverance, okay?
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is. It really is. It is about as rural Mississippi as you can possibly get.
Well, you know,
My
hey,
only
when I
suggestion
lived,
to you is going to be watch out for those train tracks there in Biloxi.
Oh, yeah.
Biloxi.
No, that's South Mississippi.
that's
Nobody
way on
goes
down
there.
That's way on down there.
No, this is the Delta. This is literally the section between Memphis and Greenville, right on the river.
You ever get into L.A.?
Lower Alabama?
Lower Alabama?
I've
yeah.
been to Dothan a number of times.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But, yeah, it is. But actually, believe it or not, it's one of my favorite school districts to work in. So I enjoy the
You
trips.
know, we used to live across the river in Arkansas. You had to check passports too when you crossed the river
Yeah.
over here. It's only like 20 miles, but
Yeah, but they were trying to keep you
the
out.
mosquitoes are pretty bad over there. The mosquitoes over here actually had trailer hitches on them.
Yeah, let me tell you something about the mosquitoes here.
Yeah.
You guys think a big mosquito is big. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, in Miami,
Oh, I go to Miami
when
a
they
lot.
land on your arm, they leave skid marks, and you hear the screech when they land. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
These things are big. They will carry you off down there. But
Yeah.
up here, I tell you what though, the ones down there, they do not hurt anywhere near as bad as the ones up here.
Here we are talking about bugs.
They're talking about bugs. Yeah, they're bugging out.
Jill's bugging out.
Well, I think it's time for us to bug out too, because
Yeah.
I do have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good night now.
All right, guys. We'll
Take it easy,
see you.
y'all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Enjoyable.
All right. So we're about through here. Let me run the.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the
You know what?
computer.
You've seen this,
Turn-
Derek.
Type in the question. It will read his mind.
Looks like you.
There's the answer code.
The cat's not big enough.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.